What's up, guys? Welcome back to OverTakes. This is Misfit, and today we're going to be doing my Week 3 NA preview. We're going to talk about the matches, some of the players, some of the teams that we're going to be looking at, a little bit of meta talk, not a ton. We talked a lot about it on recap show. I think it's going to kind of be stabilized. We'll talk about more of that in a minute. And we got a couple of matches that we want to talk about. Not a ton of good matches, honestly, on the docket in NA. Couple of them that are worth watching, one definitely. But before I dive in, thank all you guys for joining me. Thanks a lot for all your support. If you've been here for 1 day or 5 years, thank you very much. And if you're new, just stopping by, thank you as well. I do Overwatch League content 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what's going on. I might do more. Just a quick bit of news, I guess you want to call it. So we got they talked about they're doing skins for all of the different tournaments. And this one just popped up today, which is Wednesday, the Reaper Luchador skin for the Kickoff Clash, and it's dope. I'm not a big Reaper player or by any stretch, but that skin looks really cool. If you're a Reaper main kind of guy, I think it's worth getting for sure. I'm always a fan of these when they do these kind of things, and this one is one of the better ones that they've done. He has the mask on. He's got the guns look very authentic to that culture. It ties in with his culture, the Reaper. So it has a lot going on. I think it looks really cool. And so save up your tokens. So you have from May 17th to June 25th to pick that one up, because we've also gotten other news. Obviously, the first beta 1 has dropped. There's some kind of developer update on the 16th of June that we got coming up. And a lot of this stuff I think it's going to coincide with the Overwatch League, because the day we get ready for Mid-Season Madness, the first of the international tournaments, they're going to be doing their little live stream thing, which I kind of figured this is where it would go. You get the beta at the start, Mid-Season Madness, you're going to have a longer break in between, and then I'm assuming last one will be on the playoffs patch, the last beta, and I'm assuming that one will be full-on open beta. They're going to want to get this game out as soon as possible because they want to get things rolling. And none of us want to play Overwatch 1 that's played the beta, so I can't wait to see more. So, brief Overwatch news and all that. Loving the skin. Think it's great. Let's talk about what really matters, and that's Week 3 Overwatch League. Let's hit some just points of interest here. Let's talk a little bit about the meta, where I think it could go from what I've seen, heard. And you guys have heard me talk about what we saw last weekend. I'm liking some of the diversity. I'm liking teams like London just owning it and doing their thing, the rush thing. Yeah, they're running some other stuff here and there. But, they're making it fun. They're doing what they're good at. And a lot of teams are doing that right now. You got 2 teams still running Doom, as far as we know. Going into this week, the Atlanta Reign and the Houston Outlaws. It seems like Doom is getting caught up with in the current iteration, in the current way they're playing him and running him with the different DPS that most of the time they're running him with, either a Genji or an Echo. Obviously Soldier, because Soldier's still strong. Sometimes you get a Tracer in there, sometimes you get different things, but that seems to be the general consensus on that one. We're still seeing some Winston comps, which is fine. I think it's great. Winston dive is always going to be a thing when there's no shields and things like that, and you can run a Tracer Genji, and the way the speed and the pace and everything that is played, I think that's always viable. Obviously, the Zarya comps with the Zarya Reaper or the Zarya Tracer Soldier, which I went off a little bit, not off, I went on a little bit about the Reaper Zarya, how it works and stuff like that. It's divey, but it's not divey. It's kind of does a lot of things against those Doomfist comps. You get a bubble on Reaper, get him in the backlines and all that. It works good on the Winston comps too. But the iteration, I like the iteration with the Soldier Tracer better, because you're flanking, you're especially against Doom. And you saw Washington do that to Houston, and Happy just was like going nuts. Decay was going nuts, and Krillin was doing the things. There's a set pattern to get rid of Doomfist, and I don't know what else you would run with him right now, unless there's other things people are trying. I mean, who knows if Sojourn is better? Maybe you get the Sojourn a try with that after they drop this patch, maybe in the next tournament. But I think the meta is pretty diverse. We're seeing the same supports. Obviously, you're seeing a little more Brig thrown in here. I'm seeing a little bit of slowdown stuff Because Zarya does not have a lot of speed, but you still need the Lucio. To me, Ana's still strong. And the teams that are running these comps well, most of them are running, like Dallas. They're good teams anyway. They have coordination. They have a way to run these things to perfection. And when you have someone like Hanbin who's that good on Zarya anyway, and can flex a little bit here and there, maybe a Sigma pulled out a Winston and won a map for him with it. So there's a lot going on. I don't know how heavy they're going to lean into that Zarya comp. Probably a lot, I would say, because it's working. We'll see what happens if we start getting into the standard Overwatch League. Because usually by now, week 2 is usually the point where you're like, okay, this is going to be it until the end of the tournament. You really don't know what's going to happen right now. So I kind of like that. I get a little bored sometimes with the mirror comps and the ult cycling light show that happens, but it's a little different in this game. So I think we're going to be a lot of counter-picking, counter-playing. There's going to be a lot more of that going on, and maybe we'll see something new come up. Hopefully. Maybe Orisa shows her face. I don't think that's possible right now. It doesn't seem like that. She's too slow. They play too fast in this league. She's too slow. She works good in comps where in ranked. It's one of those things. It's kind of like when we didn't see Mei and we didn't see Symmetra. People played them a lot in comp and on ladder and on quick play and all that, but the Overwatch League is a different animal. But then Mei has become like a standard pick now, so who knows? Anyway, all right, enough meta talk. I'm going to go over a couple of teams I'm going to watch this weekend in NA. Kind of did more broader spectrum with APAC. There's only 7 teams, A. B, they haven't played yet. C, don't know what they're running. So I want to see some of these teams in NA that we've gotten a sample size of to see what they can do. First one I'm talking about really quick, Washington. I want to see if they have a couple of bad teams this weekend. I'm trying to be nice, I can't. They're playing Paris, who's not good, and they're playing Boston, who's not playing good either. I want to see if they come out. Happy still is going to do what he did. Decay shows up, decides he wants to play. Look, if they run these Tracer 76 kind of comps, I like that for them anyway. You get Decay where he's comfortable and what he likes, and you get Happy on something and he can aim and just go sicko mode. And there's also chances in maps where he can go in on the Widow and do Widow things. But I'm really looking at them. I want to see if their support line can keep up the good work. And Mag has been playing decent too. So they've been playing really well. I want to see if they can keep up this weekend. Another team I'm looking at, I want to see what London can do against Houston. Both of those teams in that match. London, I think, is just above the crap. They're kind of the next layer in the Overwatch atmosphere. You have the buried, and then you have the kind of about 10 feet off the ground, slightly up in the air. London's that. They haven't quite gotten into the atmosphere yet. Weird analogy, I know. I'm just rambling. But they look decent. They look enough. But can Hattie switch off? And is he going to be able to do something? Because I don't think that Ryan's going to counter that Doom if Dante comes out there. And Dante's psycho-aggressive on it. He might dial it back a little bit. But then you got the Echo, the way they're playing that. Pelican also is one of the things. He needs to pick it up a little bit, I think. Last weekend he was not good. He wasn't good against... I didn't really think he was that great or impactful at points in week 1. In fact, I think Merritt did. To me, Merritt carried the DPS line a lot. London, I want to see if the Rush versus the Doom works. I want to see them keep this momentum up. To me, it's really never fun to watch Rush all the time, but it's fun to see somebody playing something different than everybody else and kind of doing decent and scaring some teams. And I think they could potentially do that against Houston. And the rest of the games are kind of like meh in what's going on, other than Shock Gladsburg. Obviously going to spend some time on that. If you didn't think I was picking that game and I was going to pick something like Boston and Toronto as a feature match, or the Mayhem and the Excelsior. So that's my thought on teams. Kind of some players thrown in there. Also, big test, another one for the Shock rookies. Proper was absolutely just diffing everything last weekend. That dude is nuts. I loved watching that. He's phenomenal. Their DPS line is crazy with him and Kilo. And then you have Finn in there doing crazy stuff. Let's see if the rookies keep it up for San Francisco. Another big test against the Gladiators. Let's see if the Gladiators continue to run with that Patapan in there. He seemed a little shaky in week 1. At points he was really good. Points he was kind of meh. Also, meta-wise, if you're running a similar to like what Washington does, you got to have Ons in there for 76 and potential Widow spots, and maybe occasionally a Hanzo or something like that. And you're going to have Kevster on Tracer. Or Echo if necessary. It's just the way it is. I know a lot of people are saying, well, they're benching him. I wouldn't call it benching. I would say, by default meta, he's out. Guy who plays Genji and some of the other projectile stuff, he's going to be on the bench if they're going to run that. To me, that's just the way you're going to have to work it. Okay, so those are a few of the players. We're going to run down the schedule, and then we'll talk our 2 matches for the week. Very hard to pick a second one. I just kind of threw a dart and picked one. So, first match of the weekend in North America, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday. We had the Paris Eternal taking on the Washington Justice, followed by the Florida Mayhem taking on the New York Excelsior. Last match on Friday, Toronto Defiant taking on the Dallas Fuel. Next up, Saturday. First match of Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Houston Outlaws taking on the London Spitfire. Next up, we have the big match of the weekend, San Francisco Shock, LA Gladiators. Then followed by last match of Saturday, Boston Uprising versus the Toronto Defiant. Final day of action in the Overwatch League, Week 3. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we got Atlanta Reign taking on the Vancouver Titans, Dallas Fuel taking on the Paris Eternal, and the Washington Justice taking on the Boston Uprising. The one thing, I'm going to just throw this out there, I wonder how fast Sunday's matches are going to be. I say that, I don't know what the over-under is, but you got Reign Titans, Fuel Eternal, Washington, Boston, 3 mismatches, like big mismatches. You're going to be lucky if you got, no, spoiler alert, I have 3 O's in every match on that. So you're talking, you could be done with the day by 6:15. It's a possibility, guys. It is. All right, let's talk about the 2 matches we got. All right, obviously we're going to talk Shock, Gladiators, and then the other match I'm going to talk about a little bit after that, because what's an episode without talking about a goddamn team from Texas? We're going to talk Fuel Defiant, which is the closest thing to a match that we have really this weekend. Potentially, maybe you can say Houston and London. I don't know. All right, let's dive into it. We're just going to go out on a limb here. Shock, hottest team in the league. Probably right now, you could call them the best team in the league. And I know the naysayers are going to go, oh, they play garbage. They play garbage. Look, your team's playing Garbo too at some point this year. Okay? Some of the people complaining about it, you know what? Just take care of your business. They're taking care of theirs, and they took care of one of the better teams in the league. Now, there's a lot to be said about this team. Coached by Krusty, 3 of the 5 guys, we often forget, they have played with each other. Prominent starting 5. Minus Collusion Violet, you got Finn, Kilo, Proper. They've all played with each other. So there's some synergy in knowing how these guys play. They all seem to work really well together. And, Collusion's gone into this team seamlessly, playing Winston as an off-tank a lot, playing some other stuff. He's doing a really good job. I don't think Super would be potentially as good. I think you'd be hard-pressed to call it. You could call it even. You could call Super and what Collusion's doing even right now. They're both obviously great tanks and whatever, but Collusion's fit into this team perfectly. A lot of it's Krusty, a lot of it's the coaching staff, but I think it's a lot of the players. They all seem to have a similar attitude. They all have that not win at all costs, but God damn it, we're fucking good. You better be ready. Bravado, whatever you want to call it, it's back with the Shock, which, thank God, because I kind of miss that. I like some of that stuff that they used to do. Gladiators, look, they had a heartbreaker last week. You can't deny it. They should have won that game. They should have beat Dallas. They didn't, but they should have. Now, they didn't play Patapan. We talked about that a little bit, and I'm not going to blame them for that at all. Reiner's playing good. You have your support line's playing fantastic. You have Kevster, and Ons can play any hit scan that you give him, and he's going to just click heads and go psycho. So, not psycho from the Titans, but anyway. He's slightly better than that. I like what they're doing. They just got the yips choked. Choked is a hard word. They just didn't finish the job. They got thrown by Hanbin coming out on Winston, and Hanbin owned them. And that was just it. And, they lost a couple of fights on that last push map that they should have won too. Just a bad end of the match for the Gladiators. And it's not like they got reverse swept by Vancouver or something like that. I mean, Dallas is a great team. So you take away from that, look, we got to learn how to finish. And they're going to have trouble against this team they're playing this week. And let me tell you, shocker ready to play. They're good. And so I can't wait to actually sit down and watch this match. It's going to be fantastic. But let's tail of the tape this, because this is going to be close. I'm feeling. So, tank-wise, Kaluge and Reiner/Space. I'm calling this even right now. Maybe a slight edge. You could argue a little bit. Slight edge to Kaluge just because of their record. But I think Reiner has been playing fantastic. But I'm going even on this. We're calling tanks a wash in this match. Supports. Finn and Violet. Shu Funny Astro. I give this one to the Gladiators slightly. I like Funny Astro better than Violet on Lucio. His side note, Violet's Lucio has not been terrible. It's just I don't think it's at the level of Funny Astro. Now here's where you get really interesting in this match. Kevster, Ons, Patapan, Kilo, Proper, and Sam. Jeez, and this one's tough too. I'm going to lean slightly on San Francisco on this one, because Proper is insane. So is Kevster, but Proper's on a different planet, man. That guy is just, you can tell when he's just screwing around too, and he's still owning people. There isn't a point where, he was kind of okay in week one. I don't think he was playing as hard. It didn't feel like it. I don't know. Ons and Kilo, you can lean a little bit on Kilo. Sam Patapan, I got to lean a little bit on Sam. Just they have a slight edge over all of the DPS for the Gladiators. Slight. I'm not saying the Gladiators are bad by any stretch of the imagination, because I think they're really good. And any other match, you're going to go Gladiators DPS. This one right now, as we speak today, May 18th, 2022, you got to say, after seeing the Shock's DPS, you got to lean on them a little bit. So where do I see this match going? I think it's going to be a tight match. I think it's going to be a good give-and-take match. I don't think there's going to necessarily be a reverse sweep or a blowout or anything like that. Say the Shock come out and blast the Gladiators out of the water, I would be afraid at this point. This would be that one that, like when they came out in 2020, you're like, okay, they're just going to wreck everybody. I'm going to eat my popcorn and just watch them go through the schedule and tear kids to shreds. I don't think it's going to be that against the Gladiators. I think the Gladiators are too good. I think the Gladiators I have them number one in NA. I did not expect them to get reverse swept by Dallas. They also have had Dallas and the Shock back-to-back weeks. I'm not making excuses for them. It's a long season, but I just think they have a little bit less than the Shock right now. The Shock are on the roll. They have confidence and all that. Last week sucked for them, but both teams, this is their only match of the week, so they've both been preparing for each other. That's also why I think it's going to be close. I'm going to go with San Francisco in this, 3-2. A little of the we trust in the crust coaching giving us that little extra edge to put them over the Gladiators. I think people writing off Krusty last year was a bad move. I just think him and his assistants got a little too lost in the Soul Dynasty like merry-go-round that they had going on. This year they're focused. They have pretty much a main five. You see Sam come in and out. You don't see anything else. I think it was smart to go to a smaller roster, higher paid, smaller roster. Fine. It's going to work. Because if you look at, they had rotations before, but they didn't over-rotate like they do now. Or last year, I'm sorry. But slight edge, San Francisco over the Gladiators. All right, next match, we're going to talk about, we're not going to spend as much time on this one, but the next best match, I thought, was Dallas taking on Toronto. I mean, just because Toronto has been playing well. I really think they have. I've submitted to the Toronto's not yesterday's leftovers. They're kind of a good meal at a mediocre chain restaurant right now. Maybe not a mediocre. They're like getting a steak at Capitol Grill It's a chain, but it's expensive and it's decent. All right, I'll give them that. Anyway, mid-table, kind of where they should be, or what everybody thought they were, I guess. Whatever. Dallas, they have been kind of got bashed in the first match. It said it was nerves. They're not back. I just think they're playing after a hiccup, and they're just continuing to do what they do. Doing a lot of good stuff. Fearless is okay. They play better when Hanben's in there, in my opinion. I don't know if it's his shot calling, the way he's diving, his engages, whatever he's doing. They look way better to me when Hanben's in there. I think as a whole, they can run this Zarya if it becomes the thing. If you look at it, you can run whatever you want to run with this team, DPS-wise and support-wise. You're going to be okay. Sparkle and Edison are looking better every week the more they play with each other. You got Edison probably going to run if they do 76, and you have Sparkle doing the Tracer. Whatever they run, they're gonna do it well. Toronto, Hisu's been playing really good. Support line is cracked. There is no doubt that support line is doing a lot of good work. But Finale has looked good in points, better than I expected. A lot of this for me, is better than I expected with Toronto, which I'm okay with because Toronto's the closest team in proximity to me, so I kind of root for them outside of the mayhem. One guy, though, that I think deserves some props is Muse. Muse has played fantastic this year and just looked like kind of what was expected of him when he was with the Gladiators. I don't know. I don't know if that's where tanks go to die, except for Reiner. But, every year they would get a tank. You're like, oh, yeah, they're going to be great. Oh, yeah, they're going to be great. Nope. Oh, yeah, they're going to be great. Nope. Void couldn't even do anything there, for crying out loud. They went before they went out and got space. But let's do tail of the tape. Obviously, this one's going to be a lot tougher. But, there's one category. We'll start with it. Supports. I got to give it to Twilight and Choron closely, but I think there's just a little bit better than Fielder and Chio. They're good. They showed that they could that they're one of the better support lines in the league in the last couple of weeks. They were a little off on that first match against Houston. The whole team was, just not them. But they looked really, really solid. Chorong made some sick plays last weekend. Same thing with Twilight. He's a nut on Ana. And if it gets to a thing with Brig, he can also do that. But let's move on to the DPS. Right now you got the main guys that have been in there. You have Sparkle Edison versus Kisu Finale. I'm taking Sparkle and Edison in this. You could trade Finale, and you could say Sparkle's better than Finale and the Flex, and Hisu's better than Edison on the hit scan, but Edison's been playing pretty good. He's kind of showing some things. I honestly don't know what happened last year. Then again, look where he was. Yeah, Atlanta. They just did. I don't know why he didn't work there. He's here. He's playing good, and Hisu's been playing well too. I still maintain that he's not the super carry that you need, like a Sparkle, like guys like Proper, Leave, guys like that. He's not in that level. He's really good, and he's going to do a lot of good things for this team. But I just like Sparkle and Edison better right now. Tank-wise, you have Hanbin Fearless and Hotba and Muse. You got to go. It's the best tank line in the league from last year when they were running together. Hanbin's playing like one of the best tanks in the league this year, and some of the things we've seen Fearless in, he's not playing horrible, but he's still playing good at a high level, and I like that better than Hotba Muse. I always will take that. If you give me Hanbin or Fearless, yes, please, thanks. I will not worry about the tanks, unless you get in a ball, but it's not going to happen, so we're not worried about that. So in this match, honestly, Dallas 3-1. I think Toronto takes a map. I think they could keep it close in some of the other maps with Dallas, but overall, Dallas is just better. They have more synergy, better coaching, all of the things. Dallas 3-1. That's our second match of the day, or for the weekend. Just so you guys know I did them out of order. Shock Glad's more important than Defiant Fuel. Sorry. I just wanted to throw that out there because I usually do them in Saturday. If it's Saturday, I do that one first or whatever. The Gladiators Shock is the match of the weekend, at least in NA. Okay, so those are the two feature matches. Let's do the rundown of my picks for Week 3 in the Overwatch League for North America. All right, let's go. We're just going to rip right into this. Starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Paris Eternal, Washington Justice. Washington 3-0. Next up, we have Mayhem, the Florida Mayhem, taking on the New York Excelsior. I got Florida 3-1. Final match, we just talked about it on Saturday. Dallas Fuel 3-1 over Toronto. Okay, let's move on to Sunday. Let's move on to Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Houston Outlaws taking on the London Spitfire. I got Houston 3-1. And we talked about this match earlier on. San Francisco Shock, Los Angeles Gladiators. I got the Shock 3-2. Final match is Saturday. Toronto Defiant taking on the Boston Uprising. I got Defiant 3-0. On to Sunday. We had a little spot discussion about this. Sunday, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Atlanta Reign taking on the Vancouver Titans. I got Atlanta 3-0. Next up, Dallas Fuel taking on the Paris Eternal. Dallas 3-0. Final match of the weekend for Week 3 in the Overwatch League. Washington Justice taking on the Boston Uprising. I have Washington 3-0. And you guys should be done with the matches on Sunday somewhere between 6 and 6:30. Okay. I wish they put that in the predictions for a tiebreaker or 5 extra points. What time is Sunday going to end on? And give a little range. But those are my picks, guys. And that's going to be the preview for Week 3. Thank all you guys for joining me. Been a blast so far this year. Having a lot of fun. Talked a little Reaper Luchador mask thing, skin. And we dove into the matches and all that. I'm excited for this weekend. We get to see APAC. We get to see some of these NA teams. Let's see if they're as good as they have seemed against some of these bad teams. That is kind of intriguing in a way to see if they actually can dispose of the bad teams too. All right. But anyway, that's going to do it, guys. All your support's greatly, greatly appreciated. If you've been around for 1 day or 5 years, thank you very much. And if you're new and you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you very much. Please hit a like, hit a subscribe, all the YouTube jazz. That would be fantastic. This is Misfit. I'm out. Everybody stay safe. Have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you on the next one.